let's get into our lead topic here. The Saints added Cedrick Wilson, Nathan Peterman, and Stanley Morgan Jr. They're showing that their spending restraint is a very, very real thing, to put it mildly. And they went pretty deep down the list to add some of these guys. Nathan Peterman was a little bit of a surprise. Cedrick Wilson, I don't think that was a name at the top of a lot of lists. You watch him, though, and there's a lot of stuff that is good to see. Stanley Morgan Jr., I think he's probably the special teams guy to come in and compete, and they've actually done a good job on identifying those guys, and they end up typically having roles on the team. But first things first, is this it? Is this all they're going to do?
I'm not saying that the Saints are trolling their fan base, but if they were, this might be what it looks like doing this in the first week of free agency. Look, these are the kind of guys who get added to NFL teams any other time of year, and it's fine. All three of these guys could make the 53-man roster. Peterman, I think you hope he's the third quarterback at best, maybe a practice squad guy. You mentioned the name Jake Luton. They've had him around for the last couple of years. Nobody batted an eye. Stanley Morgan Jr. could absolutely be. I mean, he was with the Bengals. He played in the Super Bowl as a key special teamer, blocking receiver. Maybe he could be as much as Traquan Smith, and Cedrick Wilson could be more than Traquan Smith. It's just that people, there was a tweet last night where it was like, hey, late night receiver news. The Bears have traded for Keenan Allen. Who was the other one? Some other major signing. The Chiefs have gotten Hollywood Brown, and the Saints added Cedrick Wilson Jr. So it falls really flat when these are the names we're seeing. They all belong on a team. But, yeah, we're seeing spending restraint. I mean, we've said this all week long. There still could be a move or two where the Saints spend real money. But if they don't, this is what a lot of people claim to have wanted from the Saints. I don't think this is the Saints are broke, the cap has finally caught up to them. I think the Saints are finally trying to catch up with the cap, and they're trying to resist the urge to go overpay for some shiny new toy while still putting a competitive roster out there. And I'm not excited by it, but I can't argue with it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I watched Cedrick Wilson this morning, and I liked a lot of the stuff I actually seen from him. So, I'm not saying that it's like the answer, this should be all they do at the position, but he does do a lot of things well. Like you mentioned Traquan Smith, he blocks really well. He makes contested catches. He has much better body control than...
Can play in the slot, which is the void they have. Yeah.
He has much, much better body control than Traquan Smith. I tweeted 3 plays out where you just kind of see him making movements with his body to make catches that you didn't see before. So I think there's some contested catchability. It's a little odd to me that he was so productive in Dallas his last year there, 600 yards, then goes to Miami and it's 250, 300 yards, whatever. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's tough to kind of fit in behind Tyreek Hill and Waddle. Man, they really get the ball to Tyreek. There is a overdose on targets there. So it's understandable why, but then you watch and he's still making plays. So, I mean, I think he's a solid addition, a wide receiver 4, that's fine. I think you still go out and probably try to add another one, but I don't mind the addition of him at all. Stanley Morgan, it's just you gotta have guys on your team, and maybe he makes a team on special teams, maybe he doesn't. Which brings us back to Peterman, and what's your take on that?
I mean, I thought they were going to sign a veteran backup quarterback at the Jameis Winston, Andy Dalton level. We've seen the team operate that way in recent years, and so I just assumed they would. This makes me think Jake Haener is now the front runner to be the backup quarterback. Maybe there's another guy still to come that we haven't seen yet. But this has been a real head versus heart Saints free agency period where I was saying, as an analyst of this team, I don't think they should waste $1 on the 2024 team. So if they spent $6 million, $8 million, $4 million on a backup quarterback, that's only going to be here for this year just in case Derek Carr gets hurt, and then you're probably not making the playoffs anyway. That'd probably be money wasted. So I don't mind it. I wish it was Trevor Siemian or something like that people have good memories of. Nathan Peterman, unfortunately, is known for being the 5 interception guy, but obviously 5 interception in one game in his first career start. But obviously he's done some good things to stick around for a lot of years, and those last 2 seasons were with the Saints' current quarterbacks coach, so nobody knows better how well he fits. So, look, I'm not going to kill the Saints for adding these guys. Like I said, all 3 of these guys could be on the 53-man roster, but none of them are the boom. This team has been mega upgraded that we're hoping for. we can discuss him a little more. I like some of the things about Cedrick Wilson too. The thing about Cedrick Wilson that stood out to me is I remember that offseason. It was a pretty big signing. Like, he had done a lot of things in Dallas, and people are like, he might get a big contract. He got a really big contract from Miami. And then I think they traded, if I remember this right, they traded for Tyreek right after and then drafted Jaden Waddle right after. And it was like, oh, man, if I had known they were going to do that, maybe I would have picked a different team. Maybe things would have been different. But there's obviously good football in his track record. I think we're probably going to, in pencil, project him to make this team for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I would right now for sure. Before I get into my response to that, shout out to Larry Moore for the $10 in the chat, the super chat. Appreciate that, man. Hope you have a good Friday too. Yeah, I mean, look, my thing with let's erase Peterman, all right? Because I don't want to talk about him in that sense because I don't want it to come off as like things are so hot right now. But like, let's say they just brought in Jake Luton instead. They brought back Jake Luton, day 2 of free agency. Nobody really bats an eye, and I think in a different circumstance.
People still bat an eye if you sign Jake Luton on day 2 of free agency, but if he had never left the roster in the first place.
Like if it's a guy, the Jake Luton type from a different team, day 2 of free agency, you bring him in, he has more time to learn your offense now. Like I don't understand the timing aspect of it. That's a weird complaint to me. Like Brandon was talking about that when I walked in today. I'm like, why? Like, what's it matter if it's day 9, day 15, day 22, or day 2? Like, if you get him on day 2, you hand him the playbook on day 3, and now he has much more time and he's ready to run group 3 at OTA. So I don't have an issue with that at all.